was a Halloween night more horrifying than any scary movie. Andrea Balcer, then known as Andrew, had just committed a double murder that ended the lives of those who loved her the most. There would be no remorse, or even regret. But was this an act of pure evil, or a desperate attempt to escape a life of abuse?
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Andrew T. Balcer.
Andrew, how do you spell your last name?
Balcer.
All right. What happened?
Oh, this question would be, I snapped. I took my little K bar there and planted it straight into my mother's back. And then,
How old are you, Andrew?
17, I think.
Okay. And what else happened, Andrew?
Well, she's lying on my floor. I mean, that's messy. And my father woke up to her screams. I stabbed the out of him.
That's your father and your mother, and you're sure they're dead?
Yeah, he ain't breathing. She ain't either. So, yeah, they're dead.
You got in Winthrop?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happened? Why did you do that?
I don't even know anymore. Oh, I stabbed the dog, too. He was barking.
You stabbed the dog as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Little one. Don't go on.
Were you guys arguing?
No, we weren't.
Can we get help to them right now?
Yeah, there's no helping them.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Is there anybody else in the house?
Well, my brother was, but,
Where
he took us down the road, I think.
How old is your brother?
Huh?
How old is your brother?
Oh, he's, 25.
He's 25. What's his name?
Christopher William Balcer.
Is there anybody else in the house? You have any other brothers and sisters? Is there anybody else there?
Nope, that's it.
Have any weapons? Do you have any firearms, Andrew?
I do.
What do you have?
A Walther PK-380.
A Walther PK-380?
Yes, sir.
Is it loaded?
Again?
Andrew, listen to me. Put that gun down.
Gun down.
I have got officers that are heading over there. I do not want you to get hurt, and I do not want you to hurt those officers. Do you understand me?
Oh, I understand. Don't worry, sir. No one else is dying tonight.
47-year-old Alice Balcer, the victim of 9 stab wounds, and her husband D'Antonio, the victim of 13, were both dead, murdered by their own child, and left in pools of blood beside the family chihuahua. And though Andrea's brother Christopher may have escaped with his life, he took with him a lifetime's worth of grief and nightmarish memories the likes of which most people could not even imagine. What could propel someone to kill their own parents along with the family dog? Such acts of violence rarely come with explanations. During the phone call that sent police officers to the Balcer residence, Andrea seemed to struggle to find any reason for the unforgivable acts she had just committed. There is perhaps no sane motivation that fits this case, but Andrea would later offer some insight from behind the bars of her prison cell. In a sick, twisted justification of the murders, Andrea accused her parents of horrific abuse that stemmed back to childhood. While growing up as Andrew, Balcer knew deep down that she wanted to be a woman. At a young age, she shared her thoughts and feelings with her parents. This is when Andrea claims the abuse began. After opening up to Mom and Dad, Andrea's desires for a gender transition were given a firm no. She claimed that her parents refused to accept her new identity, and that this even led to her mother Alice sexually abusing her. Andrea's story is as shameful as it is shocking, and it involved Alice molesting Andrea, who still went by Andrew at the time of the alleged incidents. After waking Alice up on that fateful Halloween night, Andrea's mom joined her in bed. The difference on this occasion was that Andrea chose to reject it by stabbing Alice to death. Andrea made these claims in a likely attempt to gain sympathy, but she wasn't finished sharing the wrongs done to her by those who were meant to protect and love her. She also opened up about the physical abuse from her father. Antonio Balcer was a former Coast Guard and motorcycle club member. He also had a passion for firearms. This hobby of his meant that guns were a common sight in the Balcer household. But according to Andrea, that didn't stop Antonio from using the weapons to terrify his own children. Andrea also claimed to have suffered abuse from her dad based on her sexuality and gender identity. Could years of mockery and shaming have pushed a teenager to commit an unthinkable crime? Had Andrea simply reached breaking point just months before her 18th birthday? Had her gender transition been met with such disdain that she saw no other way out? This was seemingly the story that Andrea Balcer wanted everyone, including the surviving members of her family, to believe. But not all who heard her story were quick to accept such claims. Perhaps no one knew Andrea better than the only survivor of the murders that night. Her own brother, Christopher Balcer, Andrea's older sibling, was quick to dismiss his sister's accusations. Christopher insisted that his father had never laid a hand on either of them and never would. And when it came to Mother Alice, Christopher defended her memory with a heart-wrenching statement that held nothing back and made it clear that he had no sympathy for his sister. "I remember the foul things you accused her of, and the looks of horror upon the family's faces as they heard about them. You are an inhuman creature, and the fact that you continue to pretend otherwise sickens me." Christopher Balcer, as the now 27-year-old, dismissed the allegations made by Andrea. So did many other family members and friends. Andrea and Christopher's uncle, Carl Pierce, came forward to rubbish the claims of Alice and Antonio being abusive parents. Carl could not imagine the Balcers being anything but supportive of Andrea's transition, and he took the idea that the Balcers had been intolerant of their child's choices as an insult to the entire LGBT community. To justify these killings because of sexual identity or gender dysphoria beliefs is truly a cowardly act. Andrea should be ashamed of herself for it, Carl Pierce, despite both Antonio and Alice initially being apprehensive in regards to the gender transition. They ultimately accepted Andrew's change to Andrea. For those that knew the Balcer parents, the allegations of abuse were almost impossible to believe. Many in the community had close ties to the couple, and that relationship gave them good reason to believe that Andrea was lying. Alice Balcer had touched the hearts of many thanks to her work at the local veterinary hospital. Antonio's work as a chaplain had a similar effect on his reputation. And so the idea that Antonio and Alice would not support their daughter through such a difficult struggle was too much of a stretch for most of the people that knew them. Alice was described as devoted to her children, a sentiment at odds with the stories Andrea told as part of her defense. Thanks to the chilling 911 call, Andrea's guilt was never in question. And when the time came for sentencing, Andrea did not ask for leniency. She did, however, ask for forgiveness. "I made a terrible mistake, one that cost the life of the two people who made me and raised me. Though no one may believe me, I am truly sorry for what I have done." Andrea Balcer pleaded guilty to 2 counts of intentional or knowing murder and 1 count of aggravated animal cruelty. On December 4, 2018, Andrea was sentenced to 40 years in prison. She escaped a life sentence thanks to a plea deal. Her parents, Antonio and Alice, were just 47 years of age at the time of their horrific murders. For their son, and Andrea's brother Christopher Balcer, though, his fate is almost as tragic. Christopher's entire family was destroyed in minutes thanks to Andrea's actions, and he will now face his life without the support network he once so strongly relied upon. Christopher still refuses to have any contact with his sister, but Andrea remains hopeful that her older brother will one day find a way to forgive her. Andrea is now housed in a mixed maximum security facility in the main prison system. Her sentence is concrete, but the real reasons behind her horrific acts are still largely a mystery. Is Andrea a survivor of abuse? And are her crimes a result of such treatment? Or is this case one of a cold, calculated killer that's on no value in the life of their own parents? Whatever the truth behind Andrea Balcer's story is, it won't make this saga, or its accompanying 911 call, any less tragic, or any less chilling.